In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to find an art style. So you have to think, which art style, story, artist, manga, comic book inspires you the most? And for me, that was Adventure Time. Now you also have to think, which art style seems doable for entry level? Art style that is much easier to manipulate, maneuver, something that's way easier you can handle. And that's another reason why I chose Adventure Time. That and because I love minimalism and simplicity. So you want to understand the art style you've taken, shapes, lines, shading techniques, any unique factors that make it special. And you also have to keep in mind when choosing an art style is, what are you going for? Are you going for a dark and moody story, a lighthearted adventure, a comedy? These are things that can drastically change your art style. If you're just copying something with the purpose of replication, it won't help you. It'll probably only hurt you. Because once it doesn't look the way you want it, it'll deter you from continuing. Now, I'm going to be concepting, I'm going to be drawing my character and a potential Adventure Time style. Now we have an initial sketch or initial design. Now we're going to draw this in like another pose to see what else it could look like. Now this is screaming Adventure Time style. Now when you're drawing your selected art style, you're allowed to deviate, do whatever you want to your liking, because at the end of the day, it's your drawing and it's going to be your art style. The most important part about this process, you have to be daring and you have to be experimental. Like, do you like clean artwork? Try something rough and sketchy. Do you like sharp edges? Try something round and buoyant. Do you like soft? Try hard, structured lines. You have to get uncomfortable. And if you don't like what you're making, it doesn't matter. That's still progress nonetheless, because now we know what we don't like. And that's one step closer to the promised land. Is your new design too simple? Add some more detail. Is it too detailed? Make it more simple. A big aspect in learning your art style is making small adjustments along the way. And believe me when I tell you, you're not going to have the perfect design within the first few sketches. And even after you find the perfect design, you'll keep perfecting it. Now this time I wanted to give it more of a sharp-edged Samurai Jack approach. Aku! Samurai Jack is a huge inspiration on my art style and storytelling, as well as, you know. And you're not stuck at just one art style either. You can expand. Even with your styles you don't like, you still end up taking bits and pieces. Like taking different puzzle pieces and making your own puzzle out of them. Like, hey, I don't like his line work, but I do like his shading technique. Let me take that. I don't like her art style so much, but I do like her workflow and method. So let me apply that to my skills. Which brings me to the next topic on how to have a consistent art style. And the answer is workflow. So what is workflow? Workflow, in my words, it pretty much is one's process going from start to finish and how seamless they do it. Like how their setup is, or how you start and how you finish. It's that whole process and how fast and efficient your art style takes form and how fast you get the job done in general. Having a good workflow will cut your time in more than half. And art style and workflow go hand in hand. Art style may change over time, but workflow will as well. That's why I mentioned beforehand we should try and understand artists' techniques, line works, and shape placement, because your favorite artists will expose their workflows every day, and whether it's live drawing, time lapses from start to finish. Just like this drawing you see right before you, I'm doing everything in 3D shapes to help me get a configuration on certain body part placement, and you could do the same just by looking at it. Watching an artist's process is watching a man build his house brick by brick. You can see the fundamentals instantly, and you can apply those to your own house building. Now going from stickman to shapes to lines and sketches pretty much is workflow. Now here's my workflow. Stickman to joints and shapes, to sketches, to line work, to shading and hatching, to then color, to highlights and effects, with sometimes swaps with shadows, and then I finish. I know everyone's heard that feed a man or fish or teach him how to fish, feed him for life type phrase. Well, the same is pretty much with art and copying. Trying to copy art just for that instance without understanding will only teach you nothing, and it'll only be helpful for that one piece. But learning and understanding the workflow and the artist's principles and their techniques, it will help you for long term and for a long while. Now, next video I'm going to go over my specific workflow. Here's a lot of artists I learned from just by looking at their art, and these are some things that make them different. And here we have Psycho Rami. He's one of the first artists I learned from, or admired really. But his special effects that require no line work, I love that, and I love his chibi-esque art style. It's detailed enough and it can still be taken just amount of serious. If there was an artist I wanted to do big things with their art, it would be this one for sure. Definitely one of my top 3 favorite artists of all time. And one more thing about this one, I do love the jacket lore and the lore between each character. I love that stuff that Psycho Ramen does. Now we have Panel Per Day. I love this art style. It's just right up my alley, and it gives me a lot of Dark Souls, Elden Ring type vibes, and that's a lot of inspiration that I'd use as well. And it gives me Adventure Time vibes as well with the line work, so it's definitely right up my... This is like the closest artist to what I want to give. It's literally Adventure Time meets Dark Souls, so I definitely learned a lot from this one. Next we have Ito Kazu. I'm probably butchering that, but I've never seen any dynamic angle of this level ever. And it's kind of pushed me to do some crazy dynamic angles as well. I've never seen perspective like this. This was literally the first artist to get me to just like, wow, I gotta screenshot all his work. But I definitely learned a lot from this artist, 100%. Next up we have the Wild Kin. And he's the most different artist on the list because he's doing pixel art. And that's all digital. And this person shows you how far you can get with color and detail with just limited resources. Simple but very detailed. Even if you're doing pixel art or not, you can definitely learn from this, and I am also doing pixel art, so this is just perfect. But do you guys know how hard it is to do a lot of detail with just limited resources? And by resources, I mean no space to do extra stuff. Now we have A. Shipwright, potentially the most creative on this list for sure, especially with the panels. I've never seen someone do panels like this before, how it perfectly smooths over to the next panel while being its own thing. Just the shape of the panels tell their own story. And the way he gives you just tiny bits of lore is beautiful. It's just enough where you just understand it very slightly and keep you intrigued. And that's perfect for the art style, because the art style and the way the panels are tell a lot themselves. Big theme is you don't have to know what's going on then or in the future, but well, you know what's going on now, that's for sure. I'm definitely going to butcher this one, but it's Davilorium, or is it Davilorium? Either way, this is great artwork as well. Definitely giving me those Adventure Time vibes, especially with the mouth. But there's more than other art styles that do that type of stuff. But I do love the watercolor look, and that it's all just using one color in multiple shades is beautiful. And I do love the no nose, 4-finger aesthetic. That's also what I do. Next we have I Have Reflex. I love the way he did the watercolor and the fire effects and all the other elemental special effects. It's perfect for what I do as well. I definitely won't be doing it on that level. But the way he brings fashion into his art is just stunning. It's beautiful. And I love how he does hair design. That's also a part of fashion too. If you want to know how to do like baggy ripple things and learn how to fashion your characters, look at him. But if I had to pick an art style to make an anime off of, I'd choose this one 100%. Next we have Color Reaper, king of the sharp rounded angles. He gives this organic but also boxy look, and I do love this person's line work. The way the lines come off and look a little jagged and rough and edgy but still clean cut. I'd love for my line work to look like that. And also the exaggeration on certain features and joints, especially with the dynamic angles. Definitely could learn something from Color Reaper. Next up we have my good friend Najiro. I've learned a lot from this person as I draw next to him side by side half the time, but the way he uses his colors is second to none, especially with the yellows and the goldens and the oranges. But if you really want to know good movement and special effects on attacks and stuff like that, you could definitely learn a lot from him. But yeah, he's always live streaming his work, so you guys could learn workflow a ton, especially because he's all traditional. And last but not least, me. Thought I was going to just glaze everyone without glazing myself. I am FlamesCreate. You guys should tap in. Newman's Law. You want to see something different and one of a kind? You guys better buy the stock now before it rises. This is not a game. You think I'm playing around? But yeah, that's the video.
That's the